What's up, guys? Benji from Nikidra Gaming here with Paul, and he's going to tell you what he did.
I top 8'd the SG regionals. I actually came fourth, went X1. My only loss was to the guy who placed first.
Nice. Let's hit list.
So we played Shaddoll Invoked, and there's a really hilarious spice later on that we'll get to. So,
Turn around.
I always do that. It's,
All good.
I always make that derp at least once. So 3 Alistair, standard, we know what he does. The Shaddoll lineup was also pretty standard, so triple Squamata, triple Wendy, this card is stupid. 2 Beast, 2 Hog, 1 Dragon and 1 Aerial for the combo. I didn't really pull off the combo that much, but it was a blowout against Salamangreats. When they go all out, they lose 2 Sunlight Wolves if you fuse with this, and bad things happen from that.
And do you think you might have missed the 3rd Hedgehog at all?
Not really, no.
Awesome.
Two I reckon was fine. Plus the deck is at 43 anyway, so
Yeah.
space was getting really tight.
Awesome.
1 Trick Clown, 1 Damage Juggler. This is hit or miss. It's mainly just another way to the Trick Clown, but it comes up if you need Invocation to summon your construct.
Aha! Yeah, that's really interesting.
Because if you send a Trick Clown, then you have no choice but to play like El Shaddoll Fusion or Super Poly or something like that. But if the only fusion summon that you can make, that you can start with, is Invocation, then Damage Juggler will put this in your hand, and then you can Invocation it from your hand. So that came up a couple of times. So.
Nice. So you play that package again, you think?
Sorry?
Do you think you play the 2 again?
Oh, absolutely. Damage Juggler's a bit hit or miss, but I'm a hit.
Awesome.
3 Nibiru, only true hand trap that I run. It's also a light, so if you play against somebody who doesn't care whatsoever about this card, you make construction.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
That's it.
Poor Salamangreat player that I had in round 3, I opened 2, drew the 3rd, so I made a construct and Nibiru'd him twice. Poor guy. Okay, so this is my new favourite card in the deck. I played 1 Cap Shell.
Oh, so what does this card do?
Okay, so if you tribute it, link with it, fusion summon with it, synchro summon with it, or detach it as Xyz material, draw 1. You can draw 1, it's optional.
Okay.
So the silly things that this can do is, if you plan on ending on a window only, and you can fuse from the deck, then this plus Beast is Pot of Greed and summon them. Because you fuse it from the deck, it triggers.
Nice.
Conversely, if you choose to do Hedgehog instead of Beast, then it's actually Engage plus summon them.
So do you think you play more going forward, or do you think 1 is fine?
I would only ever stick with 1, because once you see it, once it does its thing, you're happy with it. It's done its job.
Understand.
You don't want to see it again after that, generally. There's 2 other nifty things you can do with it, but one of them I didn't have access to. One of them is, if you haven't seen Alistair yet, and believe me, for a few games, I swear I wasn't playing Invoke. You can normal summon this, and then link climb into your Almirage. This will draw 1 because you linked it. And then if you happen to see one of your go cards, you go. Like a fusion card. The only card you don't want to see when you play this is Alistair, because you've already...
Yes.
And the other nifty thing you can do with this is for the Caliga players out there. The effects are all like once per turn, so it's got 3 effects. It's like, if it's tributed, draw 1. If it's fusion, synchro, or linked, draw 1. If it's detached, draw 1, but it's a hard once per turn for all 3, so you can do 1 of them once. But what you can do is, if you plan on making Caliga, you can Invocation this and Alistair for a Caliga, and this draws 1. As long as it didn't go to a place of private knowledge, this will draw 1 because you used it as fusion material. But I didn't play Caliga, so that didn't come up. Okay, so that was Monsters.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, I just had to double check something.
Oh, awesome.
Spells, Shaddoll Fusion, or if this is involved, Pot of Greed or Sky Striker Mobilize Engage.
The spice.
It came up a lot. Like, it drew Super Poly once, and that was just a blowout. 3 El Shaddoll Fusion, Super Poly, 3 Invocation, 3 Meltdown and Terraforming, so 4 Meltdown.
Did you like that ratio? Did you think you'd play Terraforming again?
So by complete accident, when I initially started testing this deck, I completely forgot to put Terraforming in.
Ah.
But I still won a ridiculously large amount of times. So if you needed to cut it to 40, you could probably take Terraforming out. But again, take it or leave it. It's up to you.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 Mind Control. I'm playing Go second, so this comes up a lot. There's only 2 Spiral players here, I'm pretty sure. So the main.
So you were blinding second with this deck.
Blind second.
Nice,
all day.
nice.
Except for the one game where I knew what my opponent was playing. We were playing Moonlight, so I went first, made Winder, and
Smart move.
1 Foolish Burial, because that's every shot.
Yes, that card is any card.
Yeah.
Also sends Alistair, which is pretty nuts sometimes.
That comes
right?
up. Yeah. That matters. And it can also send Cap Shell, which if you want to make Callagher. I love that card. What can I say? Thanks, Brad, for having it in your folder so I could accidentally see it and then do things with it. 2 Dynamiscus. This overperformed. I love this card too much. Like, I saw a profile online of somebody who had this as a Mystic Mine out, and I'm like, I kind of want to see it a bit more than that. So I made the second copy. I saw it all the time, and it blew people out the water.
So even though you're blinding second, you felt like this card was still pretty good. If you could
enough
play
to
with the rest of your hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which understandable. Like in my experience as well, yes, going
Yeah.
second, if you can break their board and set that, there's not a lot they can do.
Exactly. And there is a hilarious thing you can do where if your opponent does play some kind of defensive trap, like in Perm is a good one, then you chain this from your graveyard and you make cross sheet.
Nice.
But it was supposed to out Mystic Mine, but it outed Gizmek, Grand Marju, Construct. It outed a lot of things. It was rather strong. And of course,
Shaddoll
combo trap.
Reincarnation for the combo.
Extra deck.
Yep.
The 2 Construct. There were 2 cases where I missed the third one, but you can get away with using 2 of these.
I feel like 2 is pretty standard at this point.
2 is standard. It took all of my willpower to say no, play 2.
Seems weird, right? A card like this comes
exactly.
off base, comes to 3, play 2 of it.
A
But
card as good
that's
as
where we are.
Construct goes to 3. No, play 2. Because extra deck space gets tight once you start mucking around with things. 2 Winder.
Yeah, same thing, right? You know, like can't really afford to play
Winder's
things.
always a play 2 off. Like, it's not a card like Construct that's going to get you going. It's you win the game if you see it. Generally, if it's outed, normally the second one is game over anyway. So don't really need the third. 1 up Cologne. This is stupid.
So anything interesting come up with this card today? Because I know this is a pretty new card, so
yeah. So
it does a lot of things that people might not realize it does.
So the main one is the Permanent Negate, which did negate a Will of the Salamangreat permanently. Fantastic. But it's got a different graveyard effect to the other Shadow cards, where it's like add a Shadow card from deck or grave to hand, then you have to discard one. So against my Salamangreat opponent, I made this, negate the Will of the Salamangreat, put a gravity controller over the top of it, use this to add Aerial, then ditch Aerial, and then Aerial banish Jack Jaguar and 2 Sunlight Wolves.
Nice.
It's a blowout. So. 2 Macabre. I've seen 1 as a standard. I've seen 1 as a standard lately. I steadfastly refuse to play less than 2.
Well, I couldn't find the room for a second one, but I can definitely attest that it comes up.
It does,
It comes up more than I like to admit.
My True King Dino opponent banished one of these with Lythosagan, and I needed the second one to secure the win. I mean, that game I ended up winning in time anyway, but this was the card that was going to get me there if time wasn't a factor. Purgatorio, because you win games if this thing ever becomes is uncontested.
Yeah,
And
nice card.
My Spice in the extra was Earth Golematic Mister.
Oh, nice.
So this is my Super Poly target for spiral boards that go the absolute stones. and Salamangreat, because it's basically a Violet Chimera with easier summoning conditions. It's a Cyburst and a Link.
Yes.
So when Spiral goes absolutely ham, they'll end on like Sleeper, whatever, but they'll also have like Appaloosa, Trigate, two things that are co-linking to the Trigate. The Trigate Cyburst and Appaloosa is a Link, so you play Super Poly and they're both dead. Then this comes out.
And I think the other nice thing about this card is that you can actually summon your own targets to kind of, create board states where you can Super Poly the Appaloosa when it's on its own. Which is
Exactly. It gets
sweet.
a little bit silly. But it's also good against Salamangreat because everything you can Super Poly against Salamangreat with Violet Chimera, you can do with this as well. So, and the effect is almost identical. It's just that little bit of extra utility where it's a Cyburst and a Link instead of a Salamangreat and a Link meant that it was good against other opponents as well. So Gravity Controller, love this thing. Secure Gardener, love this thing. Olmirage, Capshell turns this into Upstart Goblin.
Yeah, good old Olmirage.
Yep. Cross Sheet, you have to. And then last two were Unicorn and Moral Sword.
Nice.
You win games when this appears.
And how often did Unicorn come up? Because I know that a lot of the really good players at the recent events have been playing this card.
It only came up once, but boy did it need to come up.
So you think you play it again?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
The only card that I would even consider taking this out for is Phoenix, to up the fire count and to pop back row. But I felt as if that was like too important to not run. And I chose not to play the Invoker of Madness. It was a risk. It took.
Did that come up at all where you wanted the Invoker over?
Believe it or not, no. Like, I didn't actually summon this at all, but I didn't miss the Invoker of Madness. So
that's interesting.
Thank heavens, because I was racking my brain for like an hour trying to figure out which one of those two was going to be the best choice. I eventually went with Earth Golematic Vista. Thankfully, the Invoker of Madness didn't come up.
Awesome. Well,
side, and this
side
was
deck.
Largely irrelevant. 2 Sphere mode. It's for when people make big boards like with Rocket, Spiral, whatever. If you're blind second against that, you need to crack it somehow. I've got lots of main outs, but you can't have too many.
And did you happen to side out any of your meltdowns at Alistair's for this card, or did you think that just having the 2 normal summons was
never
impactful
Alistair
enough?
and Meltdown always stayed in.
Yeah.
Because even if you normal summon this, if you have Invocation, you're still Fusion coming. So it was okay. I never sided it. I sided it in once and didn't see it, so I didn't know.
Okay, yeah, so you never saw it anyway.
Yeah, that's why I sided it. Most of the side was pointless because when I sided it, it didn't come up. Like when I sided it and saw it, it didn't come up. And when I sided it and didn't see it, I didn't see it, so who cares? That I didn't see. The second Shadow Dragon I always saw when I took on some back row decks, so that was probably the overperformance.
That was
side.
pretty nice, awesome.
Dark Ruler No More. Sided this when I was going against those big board decks and never saw it. Twin Twisters, I sided it against back row and never saw it. Evenly matched, I sided this against back row decks and big board decks as well, and never saw it.
No.
And 3.
Having one of those days.
Yeah, one of those days, indeed. 3-dimensional barrier. In theory, this was supposed to be my spicy. I mean, a lot of people were playing it, but this was supposed to be the go first blowout card against the mirror. Never saw it.
So, one question.
Yeah.
What made you decide to play Dimensional Barrier over a card like, say, Sanctum?
Sanctum, space in the side.
So, yeah, so 3 over
Basically,
4, I guess, yeah.
Yes, but space in the side was it.
And I'm guessing you expected a lot of Shaddoll today.
I expected a lot and saw far less than I wanted to.
Nice.
I did have an idea of only siding 2 of these and 1 trap trick, so that I could go into these. If I didn't see any of these but I saw the trap trick, I could go into these and stop my opponent's plays with them. But because I also run Dynamiscus at 2, I could search that if that was the one that mattered instead. But I decided it might be better off if I could get myself going and see more of this than it was to make it easier to see one.
Right. And do you think going forward you would stay with 3 of that, or do you think you'd try and put the trap trick in there?
I would definitely try the trap trick idea, but at the same time, this was one of those cards where it's like, when I saw it, I didn't need it, and obviously when I didn't see it, who cares?
Right, yeah, so most of the time this card's just insurance against like blowout cards like Dark Ruler and stuff.
The one
right?
time I saw it where it would have come up was when I was playing against the Grand Marju OTK player who was really looking like going into an Xyz play, but I was like, no, I have Shaddoll Fusion, I don't want to stop that from happening. So I did, and then just kept it as an insurance policy for later, and that Shaddoll Fusion ended up blowing him out, so it was...
Right, so all for the best then?
Yeah, it was definitely a worthy insurance policy to have when I saw it. I just never flipped it, which is weird. But it was there when I needed it, so I'll take it.
Awesome. And do you have anything else to say and any shout outs at all?
Shout outs to the KJ Collectors and him.
Yeah, this guy.
Shout outs to Nikija Collectibles. Carmen's Fit 5 for 5% off your purchase, which is necessary for Lightning Storms because they're freaking expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Shout outs to my boys at Team X Fight. My teammate also topped as well. Nick is right there.
This one.
Hello there.
With Thunder Dragons. We'll probably see that soon as well.
Titan Control is a fun deck.
It is. Shout outs to Brad. If it wasn't for him having 3 cap shells in this folder, I never would have tried it.
The inspiration.
Brad is the inspiration.
So shout outs to Brad. Awesome.
Yeah, just shout outs to everybody in general, really.
Nice.
These players are great, the community is great. We have fun here.
Nice, awesome, dude. Yep, okay, so and always remember, go shop at Nikijo, use Gaming 5 for 5% off your order.
Also, Carmen is Fit, but...
Or Carmen is Fit 5, whatever you prefer.
They both work.
And yeah, thanks for the deck profile.
Not a problem.